So, all right, this is I wouldn't say a first. It's basically a first. This guest is a first on here on Lotto Escada, but it's a first to get someone this much of a. There's no other way to say it. In the studio, we were all very praising of him this morning. This man is thought of as a national hero by a lot of folks. And we just so happened to, I guess his daughter is a fan, is a Mug Club member, and so we were able to get him. Darren, our booker, got him on the line. This is the man who pursued, and I believe, I'll let him explain it, shot the shooter, the Texas shooter, who everyone has been talking about right now. I hate to say the hero of the hour because I know he's going to be humble and downplay it, but Stephen Willeford, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, I know how emotional of a time this must be and probably exhausting. Everyone's been wanting a piece of you in the press, so I really do appreciate you making the time. And listen, if ever you just don't want to discuss it, or I know legally maybe you can't answer a question, just feel free to say pass, and my moronic self will move on down the trail.
Okay.
So explain for people who don't know, what happened. We've all read, we've all heard about the Texas shooting.
Mm-hmm. The storyline's very confusing now.
The storyline is very confusing for a lot of people. As far as I understand, you were across the street, you were in the neighborhood, and you got your firearm and pursued this individual. Just explain it to the audience, for people who they've been putting this together with bits and pieces from the media.
I live in a little small community of Sutherland Friends, and we number in the hundreds, definitely not in the thousands. Very small community. I on a dairy there that I was the fourth generation of. I love my community. I love the people that are there. I know most of the people that went to the church there, and most of them knew my great-grandparents, the older ones. That's how far back it goes.
Well, I know.
Anyway,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I know how much you care, and I know how emotional it must be. And if I can help you in any way, let me know here. The community knows you well. Everyone who's been interviewed has spoken so highly of you. I don't think there's anyone who has a bad word to say at all about this man. It's just then people pivot right away to politicizing the issue of gun control. So let's put that on the shelf here. What happened the day of the shooting, when this story broke? What happened? What did you hear? What went through your mind? What went down that day?
I was at home, and I was actually in my room relaxing, and I started hearing a sound, and it sounded like someone tapping on my window. I'm about a block away from the church.
Okay.
And my older daughter ran in. She was cleaning dishes in the kitchen, and she ran into my room and said, "Dad, doesn't that sound like gunfire?" And I told her, I said, "That sounds like someone tapping on the window," and it was just a rapid tapping. And I went to the window and opened the window, and I could not see anything. But I followed her into the kitchen. When I got into my kitchen, it sounded definitely more volume, and I could tell that it sounded like gunfire. I said, "Oh my God, it sounds like gunfire." I ran to my safe and opened my safe, and my daughter ran outside, got in her car, and drove around the block while I got my AR-15 out of the safe. And I ran back and I grabbed a box of ammunition, and she came in and said, "Dad, there's someone in black tactical gear shooting the Baptist church." And I said, "Call your mom, my wife, and my daughter that's here now, and her husband were working on their house. We're building their house. And they were over at my property that's 5 miles down the road." And she called them, and I said, "Stay put, stay put. We have an active shooter situation at the Baptist church. Just stay where you're at," because I knew they were far enough out of town. They were in no danger.
Right.
I opened the box of ammunition, and I grabbed a handful because I was hearing shots one after another, rapid pace. And I just grabbed a handful, and I started loading a magazine, and I started out the door. And my other daughter, I told her, "Load me another magazine." And I knew she couldn't come give me a magazine. It was busy work. I was trying to give her something to do, keep her in the house. And
That's amazing. You had that forethought. I was thinking you needed. So you actually you had the time and spatial awareness to think, give her something so that she's distracted.
I've been a foreman before in construction, and sometimes you just got to give busy work to someone.
Wow.
to get them out of your hair. Yes.
Okay. So,
but my daughter she is a great girl, and she's actually I started training all my kids when they were 8 years old. They were NRA distinguished experts.
wow. Okay. So they know their way around firearms.
Yeah, I was a instructor, but I did not want anybody else that might be a target.
Right. Wow.
So there, and I ran out of the house, and some of them people said, "Why did you run out barefoot?" Because I didn't have shoes on.
The simple answer?
Well, my answer was every time I heard a shot, I was thinking that was assigned to someone else.
Right.
That shot was assigned, he was shooting at another person every time I heard a shot fire, and I didn't have time to put shoes on. It's the time of the year that I'm growing my Santa beard, because I go on a motorcycle ride with the Baptist church where we deliver toys for boys and girls of low income around Wilson County. And I ride with the Baptist church that was under attack.
Wow. So you leave with no shoes on, and then what do you get into your vehicle? Do you run straight to the church?
No, I'm a block away, or less than a block away. They're catty-cornered behind me in my house. A house behind me, and they're across the street on the other side.
Okay.
And so I ran over there, and I ran across the neighbor's house that was right across from there. And as I approached the neighbor's house, I see a gray SUV sitting in the middle of the highway in park with the engine running and the driver's side door open. And it was out of place. And I was focused on that, trying to figure out that, and kind of looking back behind the vehicle. And I don't know that I had tunnel vision or what the deal was, but I saw the shooter come from around the front of the vehicle.
Okay.
And at this time, he had a handgun in his hand. And I didn't know, but my daughter said that it had an AR-15, but when I saw him, he had a handgun.
Okay.
And he had a tactical helmet on, like a SWAT team would use, with a black visor. And he had Kevlar vest, and you could tell it was a bulletproof vest. He had that on. And I'm a Christian.
Sure.
And I believe at that point, and maybe this sounds a little off, just some of your viewers that aren't Christians, I believe the Holy Spirit was on me, because I had the presence of mind to look at what was going on. And as we exchanged fire, I noticed that the side was one of those tactical vests that Velcros across, meaning he has Kevlar in the front, Kevlar in the back, nothing in the side.
How far away was he at this point, for context, would you say?
20 yards.
Okay, so 20 yards, so you can see that clearly, and someone like you is trained with firearms, 20 yards is well within what you would practice with.
I had a AR-15 with an EOTech on it.
Sure.
And I trained at 20 yards. That's no real great, amazing shot. I shot between the two Kevlar plates.
Well, that is a great shot with the not to just heap praise, because I know everyone else will, but to have that frame of mind and, like you said, that foresight. I know people are going to be asking, did this come with your NRA instructor training, military background? Because most people would not think to look for this, to be aware of your surroundings. It is remarkable.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I can't explain the clarity of mind that I had. I can't explain it. And not only that, but I was using the neighbor's Dodge pickup truck. He had a 4-wheel drive Dodge pickup truck in his driveway, and I was using it. All he had for a shot for me is my head, because I was behind the truck and using it for cover.
Okay.
And we exchanged fire, and he hit the neighbor's car's windshield. He hit the neighbor's house, and he got into the vehicle, and I fired it again. And he fired 2 more shots through his side. Well, actually, he fired 2 shots through his side window first. And I noticed the 2 distinct pistol shots coming through the sides of the window. And I fired my AR-15 again, and it took the window down. It fell.
Okay.
And I took another shot. And at this point, I'm shooting where his head would be.
Right.
And he started the vehicle, and he turned down 539, which is a highway, and he took off. And I took one more shot at what I perceived would be about his head through the back windshield, and it shattered.
Okay.
And he blasted down the road. I looked to my left, and there was another pickup truck at the stop sign that apparently witnessed the whole thing. And I ran up and I tapped on his window, and I said, "That guy just shot up the Baptist church, and we've got to stop him." He unlocked his door, and we gave pursuit.
And thank God that he did, because, obviously you have to think from his point of view. He doesn't know a guy comes up with a gun and says, this is a tactic that kidnappers or people who are carjackers use a lot. Hey, I need your help. And thank God you both got it right.
He did witness the exchange of gunfire.
Right.
He saw the guy shooting at me also, and he saw him run out from the Baptist church, and he saw him in black tactical gear, and me with no shoes on.
Right. Yeah. He might have at that point he might have said, "Okay, that's the bad guy, the guy with the black visor, not the guy with the Santa beard and the no flip flops." So he lets you in. You've a few windows now have been shot through, and how far is he from you as you begin trying to close that gap?
He had a considerable lead. We did not even. But he left out of there, and we shot across a major intersection at full speed. And again, I had the presence of mind. I dropped the magazine because I didn't load a magazine. I just grabbed a handful and stuck them in, didn't count them.
Right.
I dropped the magazine down, and I looked, and I had 1 round in the magazine, meaning I had 1 round in the chamber and 1 in the magazine. And I pushed it back in place. He had called 911 at this point, and he was talking to 911. And obviously, the Wilson County Police Department and everybody else has got an active shooter at the Sutherland Springs Church.
Right.
And so we started talking to dispatch and telling them that we were in pursuit of him going down 539. And they said which direction he was headed towards Seguin, north, 539. And they said, "Can you see him?" And about that time, he came into view again. We started catching him.
Okay. So he comes into view and you start catching him. What does that mean? You start closing the gap? Do you bump him?
No. We were still 3 cars behind him, but we could see him, and you could see the back windshield was knocked out. And we were making up ground. And they asked us specifically, "Where is he?" And there was a crossroad there, the 227 or something like that, that crosses and goes back to Lavernia, and he had just passed that. And we told dispatch he just passed the road that cuts off and goes to Lavernia. And we're letting them know where he is.
Right.
And we started closing on him real fast at that point, and he veered off the road, and he almost stopped, and I reached down and I started to open the door, and I had my rifle in my hand, and I was going to stand behind the door, and then he took off again, and he hit a highway sign and folded over the top of this vehicle. He got back up on the pavement and ran up about 100 more yards, and then down into the bar ditch on the other side, and stopped.
Okay.
And at that point, I told the driver, and I didn't know his name at all. His name's Johnny. I told the driver, I said, just get down. You have nothing. Just get down, get out of the fire. Just get below the dash. And I opened the door, and I got out, and I used the truck again to lay my rifle across the hood of the truck. And I started yelling, driver, get out, get out. And I was yelling a few rude obscenities, which is not like me.
Well, I think it's forgivable in this instance. I don't think anyone here is going to be too upset about it. So you're yelling, your rifle is on there. Is he at this point saying anything back, or this is where he's quiet? There's nothing left coming from him.
There's no movement. There's no movement. I don't know. At this point, I didn't know what was going on in the vehicle, what was going on. If anything, I didn't know. And so I sat there, and Johnny said, estimate it between 5 and 7 minutes. I'm going to tell you, it seemed like an eternity.
Right.
And I've got my rifle trained on the side window of the driver's side, and just waiting for any sign of anything. And I'm yelling the whole time. And I remember one time he yelled out, "Where's the police?" And just a short time after I yelled that, I was focused on the SUV. I heard a PA system come on and it said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And then I heard it again. I laid my rifle over the hood of the truck, and I walked back to the back of the truck with my hands up like this. And the officer looked at me, he said, "Not you." Okay, I better go back. And I walked back up, but I didn't want him to think that there was any threat in me at all.
Right.
But and that was kind of a funny moment, because I realized at that time that there's only one squad car, and I back up.
Right.
And so I went ahead and I held my rifle trained onto the car until I saw about 6 different police officers pull up. And I thought my job was done, and I put the rifle on the back of the toolbox to the pickup truck and started to walk back, and they said, "No, no, no, stay where you are, stay where you are." And they drove a car up so that I could get behind the car and be shielded as he backed up and got me away from the scene. The Wilson County Police Department should be proud of themselves.
I'm sure they are, and I'm sure they're proud of you. I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of a medal or achievement here, because, listen, you did so much, and this is when people often say, well, call the police. You see, in this instance, they did as good of a job as they possibly could, and in that instance, right, if you weren't there, this is one thing that I would like your perspective on. The media says, well, this didn't necessarily stop at the shooting, it already occurred, but who knows, just during those 5 to 7 minutes, what kind of damage he could have done if not for someone like you. As you said, that's an eternity.
I'm going to tell you, and I found out later, they said he had multiple firearms in the vehicle and lots of ammunition. And I don't know what his plan was, but my thought in looking at it is he had a black tactical helmet and a Kevlar vest. He wasn't through.
Yeah.
And there was the River Oaks Baptist Church in the same direction that he left.
Right. Yeah.
I'm by no means saying that that's where he was going, but they were in the middle of Sunday morning services too.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like a getaway. A guy who keeps his car running and has several more weapons and ammunition. That's not someone who's just looking to get out of Dodge. So, I mean, what are your? I mean, I don't want to Barbara Walters this, but do you have it? What are your feelings like now? Are they mixed? I mean, I know people talk about what it's like in these scenarios, and you can never imagine taking a life, but in this instance, knowing so many people in your town and saving so many people, what are you feeling like now?
I'm having all kinds of issues, and I know I probably need to talk. I know police officers go through some sort of counseling, and I probably need to talk to a counselor, and I'm going to, because I can't put my finger on what my feelings are. I'm a little bit angry at the media. Oh, that's going to really make you happy. But I felt, my issue is I feel like a prisoner in my own home because I can't step out my door.
I know, and I appreciate you doing this interview. Feel free to cut me off at any time. I can imagine you want some time to yourself, but not all of them friendly either.
This is crazy. They're coming up to my door and they're sticking cards in my door. Sheriff Joe Tackett told them if they come up into my yard again, he was going to arrest them. And when they left, they were right back.
Gosh.
And I would love to, and this is where I want the focus for this to go.
Sure.
Right here. Not me. I want the focus to go to the families of the community that I grew up in. The people that I love there, the people that I know. The church was a very small congregation, and 27 people are dead. Children are dead. 20 or so are injured. That's decimated their congregation. There's very few left in their congregation.
Right.
The pastor of the church, Frank Pomeroy, him and his wife were in Oklahoma. Their 14-year-old daughter was killed.
I can only imagine. I mean, that's a long drive home. Is there a place people can go to support the church and its members? Obviously, and, a lot of people just feel helpless as to how they can help in an instance like this.
Oh, please figure it out. Again, I've been a prisoner in my own home. I have no idea. They're having a memorial at the baseball stadium, and the media is going to be there. And guess who can't be there if media is there?
Yeah, I can imagine. It's got to be tough.
I want to hug some of these people.
Yeah.
I don't even know which ones of my friends made it and didn't. I don't know. Because the media is not giving me any information, and they're keeping me from seeing any of these people.
Have the media been helpful with you at all? Have some of them been contentious? How have they been treating you? I know obviously they're being very persistent and bombastic.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, I did an interview with a young man that was on my youth shooting club when I used to do an NRA shooting club. He went on to Harding Christian University, where he graduated, and he is now an anchorman in a Arkansas news center.
Okay.
And he called me up and he said, I would love to help you if I can help you in any way. He said, I don't want to sound like I'm just looking for a story. He said, but you know me. He said, you can do this and you can have a friend doing it. He said, tell me. And he says, my boss will send me right away and we can be down tomorrow. And I said, come down.
Yeah.
And I have done a interview with him also. I did that before I did this. And he said that would show 5 o'clock news, and it would move on to media outlets farther out.
Yeah.
After they had it. So in that sense, the media has been very helpful, and I hope now that I did an interview that maybe they will, for the most part, leave, go away, at least out from in front of my home, and go focus on what should be focused on, helping the community in however they can.
Right.
You people that grew up in the city or grew up in small towns, you got to understand Sutherland Springs is a small town where we walk outside and we see our neighbors, the neighbors that knew our parents and our grandparents, the neighbors that knew us when we grew up, and we say hi, and we stare up. We can still see the stars at night. That's Sutherland Springs. That's where you would always want to be.
Yeah. Well, listen, I tell you what, I know if we lived there, people would want to be your neighbor and would want to be near wherever someone like you is. And let me tell you this, we appreciate you so much coming out here and doing this interview. I know you want to do it with your family. If we can help in any way, let me say this one thing here. Just as you saw with Ken Bone, and I'm sure you've seen the media's politicized the gun issue already. I don't want to get into that, but there are going to be some people out there, unfortunately, who are not going to focus on the town, who are not going to be looking to be helpful, and are going to be doing some digging, doing anything they can to try and discredit you. We have some brilliant researchers here. We have some brilliant people at Louder with Crowder who can help with a lot of this. If ever, and also a platform, if there is a way that people can help you or help the city, let us know, and we'll make sure that we're an outlet that's available to you, because my God, man, I mean, this is, according to the media, people like you, people as pure-hearted and as capable don't exist, and it is an unbelievable story. I mean, you're in it now, but you're a huge moment in history, what you did.
Can I say something? And I don't feel comfortable saying it just anywhere, but maybe with you guys.
Sure.
If I had run out of the house, and maybe this is a political plug or whatever, but if I had run out of the house with a pistol and faced bulletproof vests and Kevlar helmets, it might have been futile.
Right. I know.
And I ran out with an AR-15, and that's what he was shooting the place up with.
Right. And it's
and I hate to politicize that, but that's reality.
Yeah. No, listen, and thank God that you did. And I don't want to draw any kind of politicization out of you. Unfortunately, the media is already doing it. Right before we came on here, it was Slate saying, well, this actually isn't true, this narrative, because the shooting was over. And you know what? Listen, I will do this since you don't want to, because you're so kind and want to focus on rebuilding and helping. When people say, why do you need an AR-15? When people say, why do you need X amount of rounds? This is why. Stephen Willeford is why. Is because you cannot take into account what a good person with a firearm, what a good person who obeys the law, who wants to help his neighbors, who knows his neighbors' names, who wants to go out and save their lives, or even needs to save his. You cannot take all of those factors into account, and so that's why you don't have the ability or right to remove a man like this his right to protect himself. And thank God that you did, man. I mean, I don't know anyone now who would say, I sure wish Stephen Willeford didn't have an AR-15. I think there are a lot of people hitting their knees tonight thanking the Lord for you.
What I can tell you is if the shooting was over, if he wasn't intending more damage, he was indeed over, there was going to be a shootout with police at some point.
Right. Yeah.
And I stopped that also. And I'm not saying that to say that, but I'm saying that one way or the other, someone's life was going to be in danger. And yeah, it was mine or whoever.
Yeah.
But the police would have showed up. Yeah, and they probably were better trained and whatever, but I was there when it happened.
Yeah.
I was there when nobody else was there. When he shot a hole through my neighbor's house and came within a few feet of his 2-year-old son.
It's unbelievable. It's one of those, I can't even try and pretend to empathize or know. And listen, I know that, like you said, you'll be probably seeing a counselor, and there are a lot of conflicting emotions, but I can tell you that there are hundreds of millions of people, not only in this country, but across the globe right now, who absolutely see you as an inspiration. And so I know this is a horrible tragedy, but if there is any kind of a silver lining, it's that people have seen someone like you, and you've inspired a lot of people out right now, not only from this interview, but you've inspired them just with the ability to do good and take action when other people might be afraid to. a lot of people wouldn't. Listen, there are a lot of people in your scenario who would close their doors and hide, and not only thinking of your daughters, thinking of your family, having the ability, the situational awareness, but being considerate of the police, and like you said, saving lives. Any way you look at this, it doesn't matter how it's going to play out. There are more people alive today, and there are more lives improved today because you were there, because you had your firearm, and because you acted. And I hope that makes it a little bit of an easier pill to swallow, because it means a lot to everyone else watching.
I've been saying that this is tough. This is tough, and nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. But I would do it again if I had to.
Yeah.
Even how tough it is, and how people are doing whatever they're going to say and saying whatever. I would do it again if I had to.
Yeah. And that says a lot about, we talk about that a lot. It says a lot about your character, people being in uncomfortable situations and doing what they have to anyway. And looking back right now, and what I'd imagine is probably if not certainly one of the most uncomfortable moments of your life, and saying, listen, I would do it again. You're not doing it for you. The guy wasn't coming into your house. You did it entirely for other people. And I hope the media catches that. I hope the media, in all of their politicization of this, that they pick up on that, give you some space, and truly recognize, we talk about all the horror and the tragedy in media, a selfless act that saved lives. Doesn't get as much of headline coverage, but yeah, sorry, you were going to say something.
I was going to say something too, and what I wanted to say is I was terrified, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm no brave man. I was terrified.
I can imagine. That's what makes you brave. My dad told me that when I was young. Do you know what the definition of... He had that conversation with me. He said, do you know what brave is? I said, it means not being afraid. He said, no, it means doing the right thing in the face of being afraid. No one expects you to be fearless. No one expects you to go out there and be John Rambo. I would imagine that if it were me, I'd be yelling to my wife to get my brown pants. I would have long since soiled myself. There you go. Hey, at least I brought some laughter into that. Hopefully made your day a little brighter. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people who don't know anything about firearms and don't know anything about small towns and don't know anything about police response times, they think that it's a Yahoo out there looking for a bar fight. And someone like you, who is willing to admit that you were terrified, as anyone would be, and was clearly acting selflessly. This is not how the media has portrayed, by the way, even pro-gun media, good guys with guns, right? It's often tactical, and it's often seen as people who are ultra-trained. I want there to be millions, as many millions of people like you out there. I don't want the guy who just has an arsenal and the tattoos and trained. I want there to be millions of people who are able to defend themselves and their neighbors with firearms, so that we can have more good people out there like Stephen Willeford. And I'm not just saying that. I've talked about that on the show a lot. I've said, listen, there are people out there, you don't necessarily know their circumstances. And here we go. Here's your story. No one could have imagined this. No one could have put this in a box. And it unfolded, and there you were. It's amazing, and we really, really appreciate it. And hopefully your daughters now, are you at least cool dad for a day? They giving you that?
No, what's that? I'm sorry.
I said with your daughters. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the internet connection I know is. I said with your daughters, are you at least cool dad for a day? Are they giving you a break? Are you the cool guy in the house here for a little bit?
I'm the cool. My daughters ride motorcycles.
Okay.
My son. I have my son too, and I ride motorcycles with my son and my wife. We all ride Harleys.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty crazy.
But we all ride together, and I guess I've always been in their eyes a little bit kind of the cool dad, I guess. I am a blessed man. I am a very, very blessed man, because all my kids still love me and they think I'm all right. Not many people have that, but and we still do. We ride together, and I now have a daughter that's married and a son, so a son-in-law there. I got my son that's married. He's sitting right here with his beautiful wife. And my oldest daughter is about to get married. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, if they can hear me, hey, daughters and sons out there, get your dad a gift. Make sure it's better than some crappy #1 dad mug. Get him something cool here. The man.
Maybe a clouder mug.
Yeah. Oh, well, listen, we'll get your whole. I know your daughter's a mug. We will get you anything you want. Listen, anything you want. Any resources we can provide for you, because not to be a downer at all, but as you know, the media can be ruthless, and we are going to provide all of our tools at your disposal. If there's anything we can do, let us know. And to end on a positive note with this, we often hear this in church. We often hear it with when you hear tragedies or people who lash out. They say, hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. We hear that a lot. Well, you know what? You just heard it from Mr. Willeford. He said, I am a very blessed man. And you know what? Blessed people bless other people. And in this instance, this guy has blessed, we don't know how many, this is a great example. You don't know how many lives were saved, but we know it's something, and we know that it matters. And I know in the face of tragedy, it doesn't mean a whole lot to some people in the temporary, but in the permanent, it means a whole lot. We really appreciate you, brother, Mr. Willeford. Thank you for taking the time, and go do something with your kids and tell the people putting cards through your slot to take a hike. We gave you permission to.
And please, if you can find a place, and I'm sure the Baptist Church would in Sutherland Springs would accept donations. I'm sure there's a lot of funeral expenses coming up, and a lot of things. And again, that isn't even the church that I go to.
Right. No, we
but it is a church that's near and dear and close to my heart, and they need help.
Well,
they need prayers.
They need prayers, and they need everyone can provide in their prayers, and you can send them letters. But we'll be looking for either if there's a GoFundMe, or if they can go to the website. We will make sure to post about it. Do we know, Jared, if there's anything?
I don't think we know yet.
I don't think we know yet. But as soon as there's a definitive way to tangibly support them, we'll get it up on the website, and we'll get it in the link to this interview. We'll go back and re-edit it retroactively to fix it. Please, everyone out there, listen, if you're an atheist, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Taoist, if you're an I don't knowist, I don't care, but these are fellow Americans who need help. Look at it that way. And Stephen, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, did you like this video? What, you didn't? Oh, you're a cat person? Well, that makes sense. Disregard him and or her/Z. Everyone else, hit the subscribe button and leave your comment below as to why you like this video. Hey, you know what? Crazy cat, you can get back. You can comment below too as to why you don't like it.